In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a Gaussian blur effect in your picture to create a shallow depth of field. This image has two main focal points, the sculpture in the foreground and the building in the background. We're going to blur out the building in the background to make the sculpture the main focal point. First thing we want to do is duplicate the layer that we have. Shortcut key for that is Command J, or just simply go to the Layers panel and select Duplicate Layer. Next step is to create a smart object to this layer. You can right click on your mouse or control click and select Convert to Smart Object. You'll know that it is a smart object. In the bottom right hand corner you'll see a small little icon that demonstrates that it is now a smart object thumbnail. Third step is to select the Quick Selection tool in our toolbox, which is the fourth tool down. Once that is selected, you have in the Tool Options box in the top to add to selection, a single selection or minus selection. Add to selection will work. You can even change the size of the brush here as well. We're going to select a part of the image to blur out. We'll focus on the sculpture in the foreground. All you need to do is just drag across the edge of the image and Photoshop works its magic. We want to make a selection of the background instead of the foreground, so we can now simply inverse the selection. So the selection is on the background. To refine the edge of our selection, we can click on the Refine Edge button. This brings us into a Refine Edge dialog box. The view mode are many options available that works best for each particular image. You can look at it on black, on white, black and white, so on and so forth. Let's choose on black. I think that will work best. You can then change the smoothness of the edge of your selection and move across each of these areas until you see a good selection chosen. Click OK when you are done. The next stage is going to the Filter menu, Blur, Gaussian Blur. You'll see a preview of your Gaussian blur. You can increase or decrease the amount of that blur that's taking place. Let's have a little bit of a blur to the background. Click on the preview as before and after to see the effects. Click OK after you're done. You'll see then that there's a mask that is created with this Gaussian blur. So if we Command plus zoom into the picture, and if there are areas in the picture that do not necessarily work so well with the mask, we can simply click on our layer mask using black and white and the paintbrush to paint away areas that may or may not work so well. So these edges here, we can press the X key to make sure that white is in the foreground and paint some of that effect of the blur in the edges here to make this image look more realistic. Command minus to back up to full screen. If you want to change that Gaussian blur effect, just simply click on the Gaussian blur word and you're back into the filters menu to increase or decrease that effect. This is the reason why we've changed the layer to a smart object so that we can make multiple edits from that selection.